Welcome to the Spiritual Principles Made Practical podcast. And today we're going to talk about how to be more authentic, right? Because that's what works. And we all want to do more of what works. And the best way that I can uh, inspire you to be more authentic is to share about authenticity in my life and what it's meant and such. So I go back to 1997. And in 1997, I just broke down. And in that breakdown, uh, I went to Emotions Anonymous and I just kind of sat there and cried for like 3 months. And coming out of that, what I realized is that I wasn't sharing with people that I had a spiritual point of view, and I couldn't hold it back any longer. And I realized in, kind of like one of those like, can't believe I didn't think of it sooner moments, what that I wasn't sharing with people my spiritual orientation of life because I thought that they would reject me and I would be alone in the world. Well, like so many of us, what we do is I rejected myself before anybody else ever had a chance to. So I never allowed myself to be open and for people to know me and for me to express who I really was because I was afraid they'd reject me. And so I was never able to have a relationship with people because I was never real with them. I was never authentic with them. And so amazingly, I said, well, I can't hold it back anymore, right? The dam burst. And so I started sharing my spiritual perspectives on things and how I viewed life and such. And guess what happened? I started making all the friends, the deep relationships, and wonderful experiences that I was afraid I would miss out on if I did that. And so uh, I was wrong and happy to find out I was wrong. So doing what is authentic is where we feel aligned, where we feel mind, body, and spirit are all in alignment, and that is it's going to be different for everybody. It could be, somebody feels most alive and inspired when they're in their workshop, doing wood carvings, right? Or other people, it's when they're playing music. It doesn't matter what you're doing. What matters is that you have that great internal alignment, right? And you feel like, yeah, I'm doing what I should be doing in my life. I can't tell you how many times I've said to people, I know when I'm growing spiritually because when I'm growing spiritually, I have this overall sense that I'm doing what I should be doing with my life. And that's how you know you're being authentic. When you have that internal sense of I know I'm doing what I should be doing with my life. It could be being a parent. It could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you have that alignment, right? And uh, that you're just spontaneous in allowing yourself to be, right? So I'm not second guessing myself. I have this inner confidence, and so and for me that's about my thing, right? What it means to be myself as best I can determine it is to focus on my spiritual growth and share my growth as an example with other to inspire other people. And in the course of doing that, I realized, where all kinds of wisdom comes out, like we're all one, we all rise and fall together, and there's so much uplifting wisdom that uh, comes. I was talking to a friend of mine, or actually a coaching client yesterday, and I said, and he said, well, I took a weekend away just for myself to just kind of rest and regroup. And I said, God, that's fantastic. I said, how'd it go? He said, it was great. I said, did you feel more connected when you came back? He said, yeah, I did. I said, were you more efficient in everything that you did? He said, yeah, I was, and were you more at peace with it? He says, yeah, I was. Because he took that time away to connect with himself and to be in greater alignment with himself. And that was being more authentic, right? And every part of his life got better. And I said, so I said, wow, with those results, are you going to do it again? He said, oh yeah, no, I have another one planned, And I said, that's great. I said, and each time, reflect back on if, and if so, how your life has gotten better by being more attentive to who you are, being more reflective of who you are, being more aware of what inspires you. And when we're doing that, we're being authentic. And all kinds of benefits come from that, right? So, I mean, greater energy, greater health, insights, wisdom, greater success. I mean, you name it, right? Just life on from every perspective gets better when we're more authentic. And for me, it's like, for me, when I'm honest with myself, I'm more honest with other people, and then that results in everything going better, right? So, one of my things that I've gotten in meditation is that uh, uh, the solution to every problem is for me to be more honest with myself, and the more honest with myself I am, the more honest I am with other people, and the more they like me, the more I like them, the more we uplift each other, the more we help each other. It's just, it's just all better. I had a friend, and I was talking to him last night, and after years of telling him the benefits of journaling, he said he started to write down, what he wanted to do the next day, and uh, what was important and what was worthy of his attention. I said, well, that's great. That's great. I said, and he said, yeah. He said, I wake up the next day and I'm energized and I'm much more effective and efficient. I said, that's great. I said, in addition to that, has your sleep changed at all? He says, yeah, it has. I'm sleeping better. And it's like, so those kinds of things that are just pieces of wisdom that help people just spontaneously flow out of me when I'm being myself. And that's like being me. That's why I'm doing these podcasts, right? Because I find it uplifting to do these podcasts, right? And I find that it's sharing my authentic self is part of what is why I'm doing these podcasts. And it's uplifting to me, and based on, thousands and thousands of downloads of these podcasts and these sharings, I'm gonna say that, what, I think it's beneficial for other people too. I mean, if you're hearing this, you're listening, right? So so be authentic. You'll have more energy, more vitality. And the way to be more authentic is to look at those things that create that greater vitality, that greater energy, that greater sense of alignment that you have. And do those things that are uplifting, because what is uplifting, when you're doing things that are uplifting, you're being authentic. And authenticity has all kinds of benefits. So take stock of, okay, what do I do that enriches my life? What do I do that gets me to that point where, like what I said is that, I have this tremendous sense of well-being that I'm doing what I should be doing with my life. Well, you know what? That's when I'm being authentic, right? When I'm feeling that inner certainty that I'm doing what I should be doing with my life, and do that, and I guarantee you that is what it means to be authentic, and it will improve every part of your life. And you'll have much less inhibitions. You'll be much more spontaneous, and life will be much more joyful. So that's um, some insight and some examples from my life about how being authentic has really made my life much, much, much better. And I've got much more energy to deal with much more challenging circumstances than I ever had before, just by being more honest with myself. Because when I'm more honest with myself, I'm more honest with other people, and when I'm more honest with both myself and other people, everything goes better. I mean, it's easy to say honesty is the best policy, but sometimes it's hard, right? Because sometimes being honest is like, like in the example that I gave from 1997, being honest with myself included that my thinking was wrong. that my life wasn't better holding back, sharing my spiritual insights and my spiritual perspectives. My life was worse. And I had to sort of own the fact that I was thinking incorrectly. I was wrong. But boy, how much better has my life gotten admitting that I was wrong, admitting that the changes that I needed to make to be more honest and accurate with myself. Um, I'll take the pain of, lost opportunity and admitting that I was wrong every day if it's going to result in me having greater vitality, greater success. So that's one of the reasons why I think that it's exciting to find out where we're wrong, because that means we can make changes to make our lives better. So don't be, some people think that they're going to die if they're wrong. Well, in a lot of cases, you're going to, what's going to kill you is not being honest with yourself, not the pain of the lost opportunity of having thought and acted on incorrect thoughts. And so I hope that my example helps inspire you to look at your thoughts and see which ones are accurate that you're acting on and which ones are not accurate that you're acting on, and then stop acting on the non-accurate thoughts. Yeah, it'll completely change your life for the better. I mean, you'll just you'll blow your mind. You'll text me and go, God, I can't believe how much my life has changed for the better doing that. So do it. I offer thought coaching to help you be more aware of what your thoughts are and which thoughts you act on and which thoughts you don't act on and which thoughts are uplifting and which thoughts aren't, and the freedom you have to choose which ones to act on. So you can schedule a free introductory coaching session with me by emailing me at scottfriedman40@gmail.com. And then my books. And the one I want to highlight today is Believing in Ourself, the Master Skill. And that it's all about the idea that we have the ability to do whatever we're inspired to do. And if we're inspired to do great things, and we have the ability to do those great things, if we're inspired to, be a loving parent or a great friend, then that's what we're inspired. It doesn't matter what we're inspired to do. What matters is that we do that. We do what we're inspired to do, and believing that that's the optimal way to live your life. And I go into that a lot in the book. Believe in yourself, the master skill. So believe in your inspirations, believe in your abilities. We all are creating the entire world each moment. And we have unbelievable power and creative abilities. And part of being ourself is being honest and accepting those abilities. And so I encourage you to, you can go to Amazon or you can go to my website and there's links to all the books, but think about at least reading the book, Believing in Ourself, the Master Skill. And it'll inspire you and it'll improve your life. So that's it for today. And go out there and allow yourself to be the magnificent being that you are. All right. Bye for now.